continue my conversation with Green Bay Mayor Eric Genrich. Turning now to road repair. Everybody's got to talk about road repair and the potholes. Where do we stand on that?
Yeah, you know, our road crews are out there every day patching potholes all across the city of Green Bay, so really need to compliment them on the great work that they do. It's an uphill battle, though. You know, we have an old infrastructure, you know, an old system of streets in the city of Green Bay, and we really need to be focused on investing them into the future. So this is not something that has occurred overnight. It's really something that is going to take a few years to dig out of, but we're in the process of putting together our capital improvement plan, a 5-year capital improvement plan, which will really, you know, lay out a strategy, not just for city government, but for folks in the community so that they all, you know, have a better understanding of how we're going to address these challenges in the future. I'd also say on our website we have a request for services tab that we are really encouraging folks to use for a whole host of city services, but in particular on the topic of roads. You know, if you see a pothole out in front of your home or, you know, anywhere around town, you can feel free to sort of upload a picture and let us know in which location you're seeing that, and we'll get folks out there to address it.
Now, do you and or the highway department have a prioritized list? Are there certain areas of the city that you're concentrating on more, or is it just on a random basis?
Yeah, so this plays into, as I said, our capital improvement plan, which we're in the process of developing. That is a 5-year plan for, you know, capital needs all across the city. So obviously not just roads, but there will be a plan within the Department of Public Works that is focused on roads that will be available to the public, you know, here in the next few months, that will give folks a sense for what our priorities are, roughly, you know, how we're going to get after them, and you know, what that process looks like.
The wheel tax, too early to tell if it's working? Too early for a determination?
Well, I think it's certainly fair to say that it's working to raise necessary revenue to focus on repairing infrastructure. Early indications are that the estimate was a bit aggressive in terms of the dollar amount that was projected. So we expect that to be a bit lower than projected. Part of that is because a lot of folks on their driver's license sort of say that they live in the city of Green Bay, and then when they get this local registration fee, they realize they live in Alloway or Bellevue or, you know, one of the surrounding communities. So, but it's still going to be in the neighborhood of $1.3 million directly dedicated to investing in infrastructure, retiring debt, and the like.
We talked about downtown redevelopment. Any other areas you're targeting for redevelopment?
Yeah, you know, long term, I really want to be focused on our retail corridors on the east side and on the west side. We've, of course, experienced some bad news with regard to retail in these areas. So the Shopko,
the Shopko, East Town Mall,
east side, west side, both those locations. The Sears on the west side, Toys R Us. So we've got some big box stores that are empty, not dissimilar to many communities across Wisconsin or across the country, but really want to be focused on how we reinvent those spaces. I think it's possible, you know, that we would look to housing in some of those areas. We have, you know, miles of parking in those locations that are sort of sitting idle. So to reinvent that space, really to put it to use, is something that I would love to do here in the future.
So how are you trying to attract developers to that? Are you putting the word out that you're looking for people to build housing or to build stores?
Yeah.
How does that work?
I mean, our Community and Economic Development Department, folks there from Director Vonk all the way down to everybody in the department, they're actively, you know, trying to recruit businesses to the city of Green Bay. So they're constantly having conversations with developers and other business folks, you know, telling them what's available, how we could work with them, what some of our programs look like, and what the city of Green Bay has to offer.
What about federal money, federal grants? Are we getting our fair share when it comes to this sort of development? Or as any good mayor would say, no, we always need more.
That's the easy and probably the correct answer. But along those lines, I was actually just out in Washington, D.C. last Tuesday, speaking to a federal subcommittee, a Senate subcommittee, about some of these issues, directly related, though, to some of the flooding that we've experienced in recent months, and just making the case that we really do need federal support. If we want Green Bay to be a resilient community, and I absolutely do, we need some help in that regard. So we've got to cooperate and collaborate with our surrounding municipalities to make sure that we're communicating well about some of those challenges, especially with regard to the East River that obviously flows through a number of our other communities here in the area. But we can't make the investments that are necessary simply with local tax dollars. We do need the support of the federal government. So Senator Baldwin was kind enough to invite me out there to have a conversation with a subcommittee on which she's the ranking member, and had some very productive conversations. So hoping for good things to come of that.
You, of course, have had legislative experience in Madison as a representative. Did you take anything from Madison, your experiences there, to your current office?
I would, excuse me, I would certainly hope so. You know, working as a legislator in the past has really forced me to be a collaborative thinker. And so I have a ton of respect for our local legislators, our members of our city council, and I hope that that experience allows me to relate to them on that level and just, you know, make it clear that a strong city is not a community with just a strong mayor or a strong business community or a strong council. It's all of those things along with nonprofits and private residents that collaborate and cooperate to make things go in the right direction. So you know, that disposition I'm hoping will come in handy.
What was tougher, getting support, legislative support for your assembly district, or getting legislative support for your city?
We'll see. It's probably a little too early to tell. But as I often joked, you know, serving in the minority in the state assembly was sort of like herding cats as a cat that is smaller than the rest of the cats. So it's nice to be in an executive position locally where you are able to affect change a little more rapidly.
We continue with Mayor Eric Genrich right after this, so please stay with us.